attention. In the past decade or so, we have all seen the rise of the social influencer, TikTokers, meme lords, and of course YouTubers. Everybody has their favorites. You might be listening to yours right now, and it comes as no surprise that individuals with thousands or even millions of subscribers will draw their own specific crowds and build their special niches. There are many who find this sense of community wholesome and a highlight of how humanity can come together in a modern age where we often feel isolated. Although for a very rare select few, the attention is interpreted in a much more nefarious manner. In 2017, an unassuming 30-year-old young man named Joe Reed decided to start his own YouTube channel where he would narrate true scary stories. Although there were already many other true crime narrators, Joe's voice and tone seemed to click with listeners, saying he was relaxing and soothing, and many people were lulled to sleep. With such good reception, it didn't take long for Joe's page to gain notoriety, so much to the point that they would start weekly live streams wherein which Joe would chat directly with his fan base, making friends with strangers and subscribers alike, eventually having a whole team of moderators to really make this online community a working whole. However, one should remember that on the internet, everyone is a stranger. As you might have guessed, all this positive attention came with a subsequent dose of negative attention. Whenever you have a group of fans, there's always the chance of a superfan, whereas most superfans simply pester their object of affection to the point where lobotomy sounds preferable. A select few follow farther down the path. As for Joe Reed, his not-so-super fan was a diligent and unrelenting man named Jason Curling. Jason Curling was born in Springfield, Ohio, in 1992 to the parents of Robert and Melinda Curling. His father worked middle management for a prominent automobile company, while his mother was a homemaker. According to all accounts, Jason was given a traditional and supportive upbringing, having relatives and friends comment on how loving Robert and Melinda were towards him, going above and beyond, even while in the wake of little Jason's lack of reception. They were said to dote on their son with an equitable love and devotion, going above and beyond despite the criticism of others, as little Jason never returned that love or appreciation, except to his imaginary friends. He never seemed truly aware of this world, always functioning in his own fantasies, and disregarding the real-life people caring for him. There seemed to just be something wrong with him. The only time Jason seemed satisfied was when his mother spoke directly at him while making constant eye contact. This became a regular thing, and Jason's demands started to take their toll on Melinda. He demanded that she give all of her attention to him, or he would fly into a violent rage, a rage that would only get more dangerous with age. It seemed that even when praised, Jason was never fulfilled in his insatiable hunger for attention and acceptance. With one close family member who asked to remain anonymous, saying in an interview, "I've never wanted to punch an 8-year-old so bad. That kid was the worst. And now that he's an adult with a bank account and an internet connection, what happened was no surprise to me at all." With them going on to say, "I'm not saying that anybody could have predicted that, but if Jason had got some real help when he needed it, this would have probably still happened." With other family members saying it wouldn't be unusual for Jason to hurt and abuse their pets when they didn't do what he wanted, eventually leading to him not being allowed any pets. But he always found new places and people to draw from, including friends, schoolmates, and even teachers. Sometimes even the garbage man would do. He would trap strangers in conversations, only letting them escape once he felt satisfied and full. It seemed no one was safe. Between 2019 and 2022, Jason Curling had turned his sights away from his mother and toward the World Wide Web, finding whole groups of people who would compliment them when he said even the least impressive things. Soon he found this to be a more euphoric satisfaction than his mother's attention had ever given him. He was hooked. During this time, Jason would jump from chat room to chat room, sometimes maintaining multiple conversations under multiple different names, coercing innocent people into believing his stories, while also gaining notoriety as a community member, or perhaps members. In fact, Jason had just begun to realize he wasn't alone in his head. By early 2023, Jason Curling had 433 email addresses, 17 YouTube accounts, 12 Instagrams, 5 bank accounts, and 2 Costco memberships, all functioning under 6 different names at 6 different addresses. Jason had carefully crafted 6 different identities, each with their own personality and background information, physical descriptions, and also rented out separate places of residence, male and female wardrobes, 6 different vehicles, all having life stories, ongoing struggles, and some interacting with each other. 2 of his personas acted as husband and wife, while others would argue with himself. His delusions were all funded by his parents, who, some might say, are largely responsible for enabling such behavior. But every check had a well-crafted excuse. And while he was perfecting his characters, the perfect stage caught his eye. Over the course of 3 years, Jason Curling would progressively stalk and harass Joe Reed and perform his acts of clinical attention-seeking on Joe's live YouTube streams. He would create entire theaters, switching between accounts, doing his best to steal the show and Joe's attention. Jason found an affection for Joe, despite only ever hearing his voice online. He formed a possessive nature towards the YouTuber. However, according to YouTube's rules and regulations, there's nothing they can do about someone who's just really, really annoying. So Joe was at a loss for how to combat this problem. He was a polite guy and didn't want to upset someone who clearly had issues. Then one day, some of his moderators stepped up and said that they had had enough and flat out banned him. Joe thanked his moderators and continued on with his life, unaware of the retaliation brewing in Jason's mind. It didn't take long for Jason to realize he had been blocked. He had other accounts. He would disguise himself as sex bots or spam accounts to disrupt the live streams, then beg Joe on another account to let him back in so he could stop the sex bots. However, Joe had plenty of moderators who were able to ban these accounts as well. After his trickery had fallen flat, Jason began to feel the same rage he had as a child. Like how his mother had accidentally done, Joe had broken contact and rescinded his attention, resulting in Jason taking things to a whole new level. During the early months of 2023, Jason had lost all inhibitions and was on a rampage towards the one person he had deemed worthy of his own attention, Joe. Over several weeks, Jason amassed a particularly disturbing kit of items he had planned to use on Joe if he didn't accept his offer of best friendship. He packed zip ties, duct tape, a length of rope, a garden hose, contraceptives, and ABBA's greatest hits album on CD, and a large Bowie knife. If he couldn't get Joe's attention willingly, he was going to get it by force. And on February 14th, Valentine's Day, Jason drove over 500 miles across 2 states to locate Joe in Pennsylvania. Jason had hired a hacker on the deep web to help trace the IP address from one of Joe's live streams, and it just so happened that when he arrived, Joe was in the middle of a live stream. There were 3 firm knocks at the front door. Joe was shaken from his live reading and told his audience that someone was there. Everyone in the chat said, "Don't answer it." But his curiosity got the better of him. Cracking the door open, Joe saw a man much shorter and smaller than him, staring down at his feet. He addressed the stranger. Can I help you?" Jason smiled and gave a Kubrick stare and said, "You're the only one that can help me, Joe Reed." A chill went down Joe's spine. How do you know my name? Who are you?" Joe stammered. "Don't you recognize me? It's your dear friend, Jason Curling." Joe's blood ran cold, realizing this was his internet stalker, face to face with him on his doorstep. "Nope, nope, nope," Joe said as he slammed the door in Jason's face, who then began to violently pound on the door. He started screaming at Joe while switching to pounding on a window. "How could you block me?" he yelled over and over. "I've donated over 15 grand to you. You owe me something. You owe me your friendship," he squealed. But Joe barked back. "That's not how donations work. That's the opposite of a donation. And this is not how you make friends." But had no effect on Jason. He was completely lost in mania. Pulling out his knife, he began to slam the window with the blunt end of the handle, and eventually it shattered. Not caring for the broken glass, he climbed in, cutting himself along the way. He approached Joe, wielding his knife, and began to sob. "This isn't how it was supposed to be. You were supposed to love me." And in the middle of his emotional tirade, Joe's cat, Meow High, lunged at Jason and sunk its teeth into his left calf, causing him to yowl and look away, giving Joe the opportunity he needed. Joe was, and still is, in very good shape, and given the size difference, he was easily able to grab Jason, lift him off the floor, and slam him down on his back. The knife went flying, and Meow High ran after it. Shortly after that, Joe was greeted by the red and blue lights of 2 squad cars. The authorities had been notified of the situation thanks to the work of those still listening to the live stream. As the police dragged Jason away, he looked up at one of the police officers who had him by the arm and asked, "Will you be my friend?" The cop chuckled. "Yeah, sure thing, buddy." Jason smiled to himself while taking note of the officer's badge number. "Buddy." Jason Curling is currently serving 15 years for aggravated assault, stalking, breaking and entering, and as a judge put it, for being a total douche. He is eligible for parole in 2029. As for Joe, he managed to put the whole incident behind him, and his YouTube channel was larger than ever. So much that later that year, he would finally reach 1 million subscribers. The Fan. I would like to remain anonymous, if it is all right with you, but no, I am a YouTuber who reads scary stories, and I'm quite successful. I do not mean to sound cocky, but I think that is why I'm where I am today, in a world of hurt. It started Halloween night 2 years ago. I just started my live stream. Everything is going smoothly. I'm saying hi to everyone who is popping into the chat. Everyone is in the Halloween spirit, and I start the first story. I'm about 2 minutes in when in the corner of my eye, I notice someone in the chat type in capital letters, "Hey baby, I know where you live, and I'm outside right now." I stopped reading and just stared at my computer screen. Now I wasn't too concerned yet because they didn't at me when they said it. But just when I thought I was about to continue reading the story, they said the same thing 5 more times. Well, this was getting ridiculous now, I thought. So I won't be saying this person's real YouTube handle because they're still out there and I don't want to give them the satisfaction. So I'll call them Crazy Darla. So I said, "Who are you talking to, Darla? And why are you spamming up the chat with this nonsense?" She said, "I'm talking to you, sweetie, and I just wanted to let you know I'm outside and ready to finally meet you." I said, "What in the hell are you talking about? I don't know you. I've never even talked to you. Hell, I've never even seen you in the chat before." She said, "I've been secretly hiding in the chat for years, saying a word here and there, nothing ever too much. You're my favorite YouTuber. I just love your voice. I know everything about you, my love. I know your age, what you look like, your phone number, your home address. I even know your mother's maiden name. I'm your biggest fan. Come on and open the door for me so I can say hello." I thought, my God, I have a stage 5 clinger on my hands. What am I going to do? Just then, one of the moderators in the chat, who's my sister, by the way, kicked her crazy ass out and blocked her from the chat. Then everyone started asking, "Are you all right? Do you want me to call the cops?" I said, "No, hold on. Let me check to see if anyone is even out there. It's probably just some kind of sick joke. It's Halloween after all." So I got up from the computer and went downstairs. And just when I was about to go to the peephole, there was a knock on my front door. I stopped in my tracks. I thought, holy shit, she was telling the truth. How in the hell does she know everything about me? Just then I heard a giggle on the other side of the door. "I know you're in there," she said. "Please let me come in." I made my way over to the window in the living room to try and get a peek at what she looks like. But right when my hand reached the curtain, there was a loud bang on the window. I jumped back and yelled, "Jesus!" On the other side of the window, I could hear her giggle once more. I thought I'd bluff and yell at her, "Get the hell out of here! I'm calling the police." Just then, I heard a metal tapping come from behind me in the kitchen. I rushed in and saw two figures standing in my backyard, one by the kitchen sink window and the other by the sliding glass door in the dining room. They both had sacks over their heads, with two eye holes and a smile cut out for a face. They just tilted their heads to the side and looked at me without saying a word. I slowly backed into the living room. She started banging on the front door again, like she was tracking my movements, and said, "I brought some friends with me, and they want to play with you too." Well, fuck, I thought. I'm calling the police, for real now. "I'm calling the cops, you crazy bitch. You better get out of here." "I don't believe you, sweetie. You said that the last time, and no one's here," she replied in a sinister tone. Just then there was a loud crash in the kitchen. The two in the back were coming through the window. I thought, Damn. I have to get out of here. I ran back upstairs to my room. The operator was on the line with me at this point. I explained everything to her. People were at my house, and they were breaking in. Please hurry, I said. They are in the house. I don't have much time. She said, Where are you in the house, sir? I told her my room. She said, Barricade the door if you can. Officers are on the way. And stay on the line with me. I said okay, and locked my door, and I pushed a dresser in front of it. Just then my phone beeped twice and went dead. Damn it. I forgot to charge it. I ran and sat down at the computer and told everyone what was going on, and if I died, to give the police the screen name of the person who did this. Just then the lights went out. My God, they cut the power. What the hell is taking the cops so long, I thought. They should be here by now. Right at that second, they started to break down the door. The wood was splintering. Any second they would be in. I heard one of them say, It's Halloween. We want to play. Wood was flying everywhere. A hand reached through the hole and tried to unlock the door. Finally, I heard the sirens down the street. Sweet Jesus, it's about goddamn time. The pounding stopped. I heard footsteps running down the hall, then the front door opening, and the cops screaming, Get down! Get down on your knees! The cops were inside now. I heard one of them say, Is anyone here? It's the police. It's safe to come out now. I breathed a sigh of relief. I got up, moved the dresser, opened the door, and went downstairs. I then walked outside where the officers had two dudes, handcuffed, on the lawn. I looked around and said, Where's the other one? The officers said, What other one? There was a girl here. There was a girl with them. She started all of this and was stalking me. No one else was here. These were the only two, said the officer. I proceeded to show them everything she said in the chat and told them everything she said at the door. But nothing helped. She was a ghost. They couldn't track her down. There was no computer they could trace, no phone, and the guys she brought with her were just two junkies she met yesterday. She paid them to come with her. That was 2 years ago. No one has seen her. She never came back. I still have my channel. I still tell scary stories, and every once in a while, I'll see in the chat a female subscriber say, I'm your biggest fan. I just love your voice. And I'll wonder, is it her? Is she back? It's just a matter of time. She's still out there after all. And it's almost Halloween. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the special friends of the channel for your generous donations. If you would like to support the channel, the link is below in the description. Also, please send me your stories and poems to duchessofdarkness27@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at duchessof.darkness or Twitter at duchessofdarkn2. Thank you so much for joining me, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your support and your kindness. Until next time.